Well, very good afternoon. We're coming to you live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Welcome to the Week in Review, the program which takes a look at some of those big stories to come out of the week, perhaps what's been making headlines, and as always, getting South Africans talking. I am your host, Liesl Wilson. Let's get straight into it. Well, it's only a matter of minutes until the newly elected SACP General Secretary is announced. Meanwhile, Free State Police have arrested 2 people in connection with the brutal murder of 7 people who were shot and killed on the Lismore farm in Kestal. And President Cyril Ramaphosa is on an oversight visit at the Tutuka Power Station in Mpumalanga as the country's energy crisis continues. Right, those are look at your headlines. Let's get into some of those stories now. Dr. Ben Zamande is finally out as the SACP General Secretary, and Osali Mapaila is uncontested to take over. But Zamande was overwhelmingly nominated as the chair of the party. He will square up with Gwebs Qonde, who failed to meet the required threshold of 4 provinces, but was later nominated from the floor. Perhaps for more on this story, let's cross live to our SABC News reporter, Nhlanhla Kgatlana. A very good afternoon to you, Nhlanhla. Thank you for joining us. Perhaps you can give us the latest on what's transpiring on your end. Perhaps what time can we expect the announcement of the new leadership there?
Well, afternoon, Liesl, and our viewers at home. Currently, as I'm speaking to you, the commissions were busy reporting back. We know that at 12 o'clock, voting was done. Now they are basically counting. And from the program, the little that we know is that after the reports that are presented by the commissions, there's going to be announcement on the results. We know that it's not going to be a long process in terms of counting the votes, because like we said earlier, only less than 400 delegates participated in voting there. Then only afterwards will there be an announcement of the report. We also expect the newly elected General Secretary, after he's announced, he will also, give his first speech and close the proceedings today.
All right. Thank you very much for that update, Nhlanhla. I think just in conclusion, as we perhaps look at this Congress to date, I mean, just last year it celebrated 100 years. It was a centenary celebration. How significant has this event been for the party itself, perhaps with this new leadership also incoming to be announced?
Well, Liesl, talking to that exactly, we had during the week on the second day when the outgoing General Secretary, Bladen Zimbabwe, was giving the political report, talking about the importance of the SACP, not only in the political landscape of the country, but for South Africans. He spoke a lot. We saw yesterday the president, speaking highly of the role that he played, that saying that, SACP is still, the vanguard of the people and needs to play a much important role in terms of, uniting the alliance. That when he was delivering the state of the report, the first Deputy General Secretary, Cyril Mapaila, did speak to the relationship within the alliance. We know that the only thing that, came out from this issue that was, quite raised concern was when there was sort of a debate in terms of should the president of the ANC speak after the political report of the party, but that was dealt with. Basically, they were speaking about the role of SACP in the alliance. We spoke to the head of communication of SACP earlier, and we posed a question to him in terms of, how do they do their voting and what role are they going to play? And also we looked into that issue that happened, during Workers' Day, where we saw the president of the ANC denied to give a message of support at Workers' Day. So the issues of ties of the alliance was highly discussed here, Liesl. And, like I said, after 24 years, the that outgoing General Secretary was highly, commended for the role that he played to ensure that, as much as the alliance was facing, struggles of factionalism, divisions that were costing South Africa, SACP, remained united, the only part that was united in the alliance.
Right, Nhlanhla, thank you very much for that update. Let's continue to monitor it as the Congress obviously unfolds, happening between the 13th and 17th of July. Nhlanhla Katlane, our reporter there in Boksburg, giving us the latest from the 15th National Congress of the SACP. In other news now, President Cyril Ramaphosa is on an oversight visit to Tutuga Power Station in Mpumalanga as South Africa continues to endure rolling blackouts. Now, the president is currently in a closed meeting with Eskom executives, Minister of Mineral Resources, Gwede Mantashe, and Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan. Speaking during the SACP's 15th conference just yesterday, President Ramaphosa announced that government is considering establishing a second power utility to reduce risk proposed by Eskom's failures. But according to the president, the proposal was tabled by Minister Mantashe, where stage 2 power cuts are being implemented this weekend between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. Ramaphosa has vowed to continue pursuing economic reforms to secure a more reliable supply of affordable electricity.
If the state is to effectively support growth and development as envisaged in Ready to Govern, then it needs to have sufficient capital, skills, and must highlight the use of technology as one of the key enablers in the modern times. It needs to be efficient, it also needs to be innovative, but it also needs to be competitive. Even if we will have state entities competing against each other. For instance, Comrade Gwede Mantashe, in dealing with this problem of energy, has said, President, why don't we set up another state-owned entity so that we lessen our risks just as they are exposed in one entity? And I've said, I agree with him.
Right, in other news now, the Free State Police have arrested 2 people in connection with the brutal murder of 7 people who were shot and killed on the Lismore farm in Kestal. Police spokesperson Mutansi Makele says a police investigating team followed intelligence-driven information which led to the arrest of 2 men aged between 22 and 34. Makele says that the 2 were arrested on a road just outside of Butlokong Township where the 2 firearms, a shotgun and a pellet gun believed to have been stolen from the same farmhouse were recovered, with a possibility that one of the firearms could be the murder weapon. The farm owner found the bodies of the victims, 6 women and a young man, inside their house on the farm yesterday. Abumelele Mdlalane has more on that story.
Yes, we worked throughout the night and the team managed to apprehend these 2 suspects late yesterday evening. And then these people were found just outside Butlokong in the Bethlehem area, and they were found in possession of the 2 firearms which we suspect that they have been stolen from the farmhouse. One of them is a shotgun, and you realize that these people, when we looked at the wounds, they were related to the shotgun. So we still need to process it just to confirm whether it's a weapon which was used to commit these murders.
You also mentioned that a car belonging to the farm owner has been discovered. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the team ran throughout from the time when we received this scene, and during the day they managed to detect the car just on the road between Kestel and Bethlehem. It's a Ford Ranger, and the owner confirmed that it's his vehicle.
Do we now maybe know whether the families have been informed about this incident and the ages thereof of the people involved?
Yes, for now we can only divulge that the youngest is 22-year-old and the oldest is 53-year-old. The young boy or young man who was also found in the house murdered is 17-year-old. We still have to get the families to identify the bodies and formally give us the particulars and the names. And this will take place or unfold during the day. As you will realize that the scene is still active throughout the night. Forensic team was busy, now the ballistic team is busy.
Mr. Magere, do we really know maybe the motive behind this? Because this is not the first time we see such happening in the Eastern Free State, given that there's been many farm attacks that have been happening.
It's a pure criminal activity, seeing that there are things which were taken from the farmhouse, and we will still allow the farm owner to detect if there are any other additional things which are missing in the house, because while we are processing the scene, he's not allowed in until we have hand over the house back to him after the team has conducted their investigation. It's when he will detect if there are any other things or property missing from the house.
Can we at least know, can you be able to disclose the things that have been taken?
As I said, for now we cannot until he identify or picked up if he's missing anything except the vehicle which we mentioned earlier and the 2 firearms. They were from the farmhouse.
The incident then in Bloemfontein yesterday in the evening, 2 people were killed. Can you keep us up to speed with that information also?
For now we don't have any arrests. We know that according to the owner of the store where the incident took place, there were people who bashed in the store while he was about to close, and unfortunate parties were the son to the store owner and one of the hawkers who was placing his stuff within the store itself were caught in the middle of this fire and they lost their lives.
Right, let's take a quick ad break. We continue with more news and updates on the other side. We'll be right back. Right, welcome back. You're watching the Week in Review with myself, Liesl Wilson. Let's take a look at some of those other stories now. The funeral of Mthunzi Wiseman Zwane is currently underway in Elukwatini, Mpumalanga. Zwane was stabbed multiple times. His body was dumped in a river. The 26-year-old was a student doctor and expected to graduate later this year. He studied in Cuba and was doing his clinical training at the University of the Free State. Now, 2 people aged between 17 and 18 were arrested in connection with the murder. SABC News reporter Tumelo Machoho spoke to Deputy Health Minister Dr. Sibongeseni Dlomo. Let's take a listen.
The funeral of Wiseman Mthunzi Zwane is currently underway here in Lekwatini. You remember that Wiseman was stabbed to death and his body was found in a river nearby this community. 2 people have so far been arrested and one of them has appeared in court. The other one is expected to appear in court on the 19th of July next week. But the funeral is currently underway. Let's quickly speak to the Deputy Minister of Health, Ntate Dlomo. Ntate, just talk to us about how this incident and how have we lost someone that is super important, very important in terms of health and also coming from a very disadvantaged community. Just talk to us about that.
Yeah, so our condolence does go to this family of Zwane, the family of Mpumalanga and the Department of Health in the whole country for such a loss. So the young, very potentially good doctor who was almost in his final year of study. And when he passed on, he was actually completing his studies, but he comes from a very noble program that was created by President Nelson Mandela and President Fidel Castro. A program that has actually been identifying children from the most ever rural communities. This child left and went to Cuba to study without a father. While he was in Cuba, he lost his mother, and we arranged him to come back to bury his mother. He was almost an orphan now, supported by government, who was going to make such a big difference in his community. He was going to break the chain of poverty in his family. He was also going to support us as a country for another 50 years of the investment that we actually would have had. May his soul rest in peace.
And also, Ntate, we see these young doctors that are graduating, and also we see that the department, also the health department, is struggling also to attract these young people. Obviously, this was going to be to help you guys and help this community, rural communities where most doctors don't even want to go there and work there. How have we, as a department, are we struggling? Because we know that we're struggling with doctors, and how was his contribution going to be assisting these communities?
We have over 3,000 doctors now who have qualified from this program of Nelson Mandela Fidel Castro. We are actually monitoring these doctors, and we know we can tell you without failure, without fear of contradicting ourselves, majority of these doctors are working in the rural clinics and hospitals, where many of us would dare not to go and work there. So this is the training of the public health approach that they have in Cuba that makes you to love and embrace and says, by the way, rural people do matter. They are just as important as urban people. So if I am trained, I'm skilled to really improve health quality, let me go to the rural areas too. That's where they came from. And this has been our biggest benefit as a government, as a country, to see doctors who are coming in from the Nelson Mandela Fidel Castro program embracing rural medicine, being there. And we really want to commend them for that. So a loss of Dr. Umthunzi is a great loss to us and a great loss to such a contribution that would have been having.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. That was the Deputy Minister, Dr. Dlomo, speaking to us there about the incident that happened here in Lekwatini village here in Mpumalanga. 2 people have been arrested, and 2 of them are expected to appear in court on Tuesday, on the 19th of July, here in Lekwatini Magistrate Court on Tuesday. For now, it's back to you.
Thank you very much to our reporter, Tumelo Machoho, for that update. Let's take a look at other news now. Police Minister Bheki Cele has thanked the community for their assistance in the arrest of 7 suspects in connection with the robbery spree in Alexandra, just north of Johannesburg. Now, 6 people were killed by the robbers and 13 wounded.
One would love to thank the people of Alex, the councillors and everybody, Izinduna Hostel, that in the shortest possible time, police have worked well. At least they found 1 murder weapon, and they found some empty magazine. They've picked up empty cartridges of a pistol, no AK this time, and they've arrested 7 people. So that is on the cooperation of the community. We can simply say that rather than giving details of where those people were arrested. But again, the community of Alex has been super in terms of working with the police.
Our residents of Jugulan in Soshanguve, north of Pretoria, say rampant criminality has engulfed the area for months now. It's alleged children as young as 12 are recruited to join crime syndicates. An SABC crew had to be escorted by the Tshwane Metro Police as the area is a haven for criminals.
A community embittered by a sea of crime. Criminal gangs operate from abandoned RDP houses like this one, ambushing unsuspecting victims as they commute to and from work. Courier and delivery vans haven't been spared either, and paramedics are also afraid of entering unescorted. Ambulances have had their tires and batteries stolen.
We lost an uncle because the ambulance couldn't come on time, because it has to wait to be escorted before they can come and assist us. Then as a result, we lost him, even after he passed on, because still you needed paramedics to come and confirm him dead. They couldn't come. They had to wait for the next day, and you can imagine the trauma.
Crime has also devastated businesses. This old man almost lost his son 2 months ago after he was shot by unknown attackers.
I have given up in life. I'm waiting for anything because of how my son is.
Even municipal employees are not spared. This has caused essential services such as water leaks, power cuts and sewerage system blockages to be left unattended. Escorts are provided by the Rietgat police station, which is already under-resourced and stretched. The Metro Police can't cope either.
We cannot have a situation whereby kids that are supposed to be at school be trained how to breach a gun. We know that in the area, as after 10 o'clock midnight, no one is supposed to be on the street because, I mean, it's crimes, criminals roaming around the street, and it's not safe for anyone. So we need escort. We call on the minister and the MEC to attend to the issue of crime in Jugulan.
Patrollers from CPF are posted at different shopping centers with the assistance of a sector vehicle from the station. The local station has also initiated an operation that is conducted every Friday by officers of the station, including those from support service, Vispol, and detectives.
Mbua says they've escalated concerns over crime in the area to the Gauteng legislature. Mulimaone Moto, SABC News, Soshanguve.
Well, let's take a quick ad break and continue with more news on the other side. Welcome back to the Week in Review. Let's take a look at some of the other news making headlines this week. In fact, the EFF wants President Cyril Ramaphosa to step down. It's now approaching the courts to have the president investigated and answer questions on the Palapala farm robbery in Limpopo. Millions of dollars were stolen, but the case was never opened by the president. And party leader Julius Malema says they will not back down in their bid for Ramaphosa to leave office amid the saga.
The EFF will approach the courts of South Africa to compel the South African Reserve Bank, the South African Revenue Services, the Financial Intelligence Center, and Ramaphosa to honestly answer to all the questions we have sent to them. The EFF will approach the courts of South Africa to compel Parliament to conduct a thorough and transparent investigation of all the crimes committed by Cyril Ramaphosa with the aim of building a solid case of an impeachment. The EFF will approach all political parties in Parliament, including the ANC, to engage on a motion of no confidence against Cyril Ramaphosa as a president of South Africa.
While President Cyril Ramaphosa says he won't be intimidated or bullied into stepping down over the allegations against him concerning the robbery at his Palapala game farm. Speaking at the South African Communist Party's National Congress, he said the allegations were serious and that due legal process must be followed and allowed to take its course.
I will not be intimidated, nor distracted, nor bullied into submission. Now, for as long as I'm still privileged to be the President of the Republic, I will do my work.
Meanwhile, protesters who marched on ANC headquarters in Johannesburg, at the ANC headquarters in Johannesburg, have given the party 48 hours to suspend President Ramaphosa over the farm robbery saga. Other demands, including action on the petrol price as well as load shedding.
Out in their numbers, expressing their unhappiness with how the ANC is handling the issue of the Palapala farm in Limpopo, these protesters, dressed in ANC regalia, are demanding that party president Cyril Ramaphosa be suspended pending investigations into the robbery that took place at the farm in 2020. Led by the likes of Carl Niehaus, Supra Mahumapelo and Des van Rooyen.
President Ramaphosa, you know in your heart that something has gone wrong at your house. You know. If you did not know, you wouldn't have spoken to the VIP protection. If you did not know, you wouldn't have given a task to deal with people who gain entry into your house.
Other demands in the memorandum include the reduction of the petrol price and that the first 2 days of the ANC policy conference be converted to a National General Council, with the remaining days dedicated to the policy conference. These ANC members are also demanding that load shedding be a thing of the past in South Africa. The group gave the ANC 48 hours to announce Ramaphosa's suspension. The march started 3 hours after the set time from Mary Fitzgerald Square to Luthuli House. The memorandum was received by the ANC's Bongile Besani and Colin Mayine. If President Cyril Ramaphosa does not heed to this call by protesters to step down, it remains to be seen how events will play out come Monday. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, in other news, day 5 of the parliamentary inquiry into the fitness of suspended public protector advocate Busisiwe Mqwebane to hold office has not been without its drama. Mqwebane's lawyer advocate Darling Bofu continued to question former SARS employee Johan van Logenberg, where he argued that Mqwebane was dishonest, incompetent and acted fraudulently in the compilation of the SARS intelligence unit report by failing to get his side of the story.
It was another day punctuated by legal tussles as Advocate Mpofu grilled Van Locherenberg, formerly of the SARS intelligence unit. The pair has been at loggerheads over the use of the term SARS rogue unit.
That apart from you and I, out there are South Africans, I don't know how many, who will agree with you that the unit was above board, nothing wrong with it, and so on and so on. There's another large number of South Africans, again, I don't know how many, who believe that the unit was unlawful and rogue and all the things you've just enumerated.
So that is unfortunately how a successful propaganda campaign works. The label will remain for long beyond our lifetimes.
Mpofu also took Van Locherenberg through 5 reports that probed the unit. On the classified report of the Inspector General of Intelligence, of which the findings have since been set aside, Van Locherenberg said he would have taken the report on review.
No, in other words, at the time that she then relied on this report, she was in illegal possession of the report. Thank you.
Technically speaking, she was, in the sense that that's exactly why I've been at pains. Maybe it means then, since I've been trying to tell you that she was trying by all these methods to regularize, or let's say legalize that possession.
I understand, sir. I understand.
Yes. No. So we're clear now. Are we clear with each other?
I think so, Chair.
Thank you. So. All right. Yeah, I hope so too.
Emotions ran high as Mpofu teased out information about the unit.
Does the rogue unit still exist, Mr. Van Locherenberg?
I don't know of any rogue unit, Chair.
Is that your answer?
Which unit are you referring to, Mr.
Tensions increased further.
I promise never to refer to advocates as rogue advocates.
Yes. Well, if are you trying to be coy and funny, Mr. Locherenberg, so that we can laugh at the right time? Pardon?
No, Chair.
MPs also joined the fray.
I find his behavior, and I said this yesterday, towards this committee and towards the witnesses to be aggressive, to be disrespectful, to be interrupting, to be arrogant and dismissive.
I think this committee has got a chairperson, and that if Advocate Mpofu or any of us are not consistent with the directives, it is well within the chair to bring us back into order. It is going to be very abusive for people to abruptly just stand up here and tell us their feelings. It's not like we're all feeling the same, but we subject everybody in the process here into the capable hands of the chair. So please do not allow that, Chair.
Mpofu later threatened to stop participating in the inquiry if he was not respected, arguing that he would not cower to anybody. When he returned to the comment on rogue advocate, Van Locherenberg simply apologized. The inquiry continues. Tulelani Philip, SABC News, Parliament.
Right, let's take a quick ad break and continue on the other side with more news and updates. Right, welcome back. Let's take a look at more news now. US President Joe Biden met with the Saudi king and crown prince in Jeddah in an effort to reset ties between the two countries. Energy and security interests prompted Biden and his aides to decide not to isolate the Gulf oil giant that has been strengthening ties with Russia and China. Now, the United States and Saudi Arabia made a package of announcements ranging from removing peacekeepers from a strategic island off the Saudi and Egyptian coasts to cooperation in mobile technology. In a statement released after Biden held talks, the United States also welcomed previously announced accelerated oil production increases by OPEC. It's a group which, of course, includes Saudi Arabia and Russia. While staying further afield, South Africa's neutral position on the Russia-Ukraine war is informed by seeking a peaceful solution, but also to position the country for possible future role in reconciling the two sides. That's been the view of Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele, who was in conversation with SABC Sherman Bryce Peace on the sidelines of a high-level United Nations political forum on the Sustainable Development Goals in New York.
You say that the Russia-Ukraine war severely eroded renewed hope for the global community emerging from COVID-19, eroded hope and divided the world once again and diverted us from the SG's common agenda. Greg Mills of the Brenthurst Foundation writes in Daily Maverick this week that Africa's response to the Russian invasion has so far been weak. Has the time come, Minister, for the posture of countries like South Africa and others on the African continent to change, given the links that you yourself have drawn between this war and rising food costs and energy costs and many other factors that are impeding social development on the continent?
Well, if you look at our priorities, Sharon, Priority 7 is about better Africa and better world. And South Africa's philosophy is that a prosperous society is a peaceful society. And South Africa has sharpened her skills in actually making sure that we are a viable tool for peace anywhere in the world. And to retain that status, we always have to make sure that both conflicting parties see us as thus. Because immediately you go in a fighting situation and try to think that you want to choose who is better, you have actually cost yourself the opportunity to actually make... South Africa has got a history in as far as that. In the Ireland, we were there. In Saudi Arabia, I can list a number of countries. The reason we're being called, we have passed the test of being objective and neutral at all material terms, because whenever these institutions, these countries are fighting, there is no innocent what to call.
But as a UN member state, you would agree that only one country has violated the sovereignty of another country that violates the UN Charter. As a signatory to the UN Charter, which South Africa is, you can agree, Minister, that only one country here has violated the sovereignty of another country, not so?
Our attitude is that it doesn't matter who you are, whether you are a friend of South Africa. Anyone who destabilizes society, who is responsible for the killing, we always are going to frown upon that. But who is really responsible for conflict is a position we are very careful in taking, because we want to assist in the reconciliation of that situation.
Well, the appointment of electoral officials in Zimbabwe sparked controversies. Comes after Millicent Mohadi, daughter of former Vice President Kemba Mohadi, was sworn in. As Zimbabwe heads to the polls next year for what many view as a watershed moment for the country. There are growing fears that the poll will again be disputed.
As preparations for the 2023 general elections gather pace in Zimbabwe, the country's elections management body, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, says it has begun the process of remapping constituencies ahead of the polls.
We are in the midst of our pre-delimitation activities. We are hoping to proceed with delimitation on a consensus-building aspect where anybody who is not happy with proposed boundaries will be at liberty to express their unhappiness in the multi-party liaison committees. It will be discussed.
Some analysts and opposition parties are citing conflict of interest as Millicent Mohadi's father is second in command at the ruling ZANU-PF party.
When we look at the issue of how, Mohadi's daughter was appointed, we start to question as the Triple C to say, really, what value addition is she going to bring, to the commission?
The opposition has called for a reversal of the appointment, but President Emmerson Mnangagwa has already shown no signs of budging and has already taken a hard stance.
I call upon the party and nation at large to remain peaceful and unite against provocation and instigated acts of violence by our usual detractors and their surrogate pseudo-opposition parties. Our national institutions were established to advance our national interests. It is in this context that they must be respected.
Analysts warn that both ZANU-PF and the opposition are not taking matters of electoral reform seriously, and the outcome of the 2023 elections won't be different from the past polls.
It also shows contempt that the establishment has in terms of the electoral body, because I think this has been the worst electoral body that we are witnessing since 1980.
For now, many are looking at the opposition to make its move. Kailihle Kumalo, SABC News.
While staying with Zimbabwe, where a lawyer and member of Citizens Coalition for Change has called on Zimbabweans to pray on Sunday for those that have been arrested without trial for seeking justice for slain opposition activist More Blessing Ali. On a letter sent to SABC News, Job Sikala says that he will continue to fight for justice. Sikala has been denied bail. It comes after he was arrested for allegedly uploading a video on YouTube implying that Ali had been kidnapped and murdered by ZANU-PF supporters. Sikala denies the charge. While staying on the continent, health officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo have appealed for funding to help stop the spread of monkeypox in the central province of Sankuru. There have been 10 deaths and 618 monkeypox cases reported there over the past 6 months. Our SABC correspondent Chris Otairinga filed this report from Kinshasa.
The DRC's central province of Sankuru has recorded an increase in monkeypox cases since the beginning of this year. The health zone of Benadibele has been the worst affected, with 289 cases and 5 deaths. Most of the deaths have been among children under the age of 5. The head of the health division says some patients contracted the viral disease after eating dead monkeys and rodents. The province is located near the equatorial forest, and the population's main activity is hunting wild animals. Authorities have embarked on a campaign to treat the population and educate them about monkeypox, but they say they do not have enough funds to treat the sick. The first case of monkeypox was recorded in the DRC in 1970. It's a viral disease that can be spread from animals to humans. It can also be spread from one person to another through contact with the body fluids of an infected person. The disease has become endemic in the central part of the DRC. Chris Sochamringa, SABC News, Kinshasa.
Well, the 10th Parliament of Lesotho has failed to deliver the much-anticipated national reforms ahead of the upcoming national elections. As part of mediation efforts by regional body SADC, a commission of inquiry mandated that key national reforms be undertaken.
Following numerous number of envoys visiting the troubled mountain kingdom to aid a return to peace and stability, it is President Cyril Ramaphosa and the facilitation team on behalf of SADC that will mostly be disappointed that the omnibus bill, which encompasses key national reforms, has not been passed into law. This is following time constraints that activated automatic dissolution on the life of the 10th Parliament. Both houses of Parliament claim time as a factor to pass the bill.
Maybe on that aspect of time, Basotho will be concerned a bit and say they pay the honorable members handsomely, and there were many times where it was more prayer than the actual bills. Is it because of lack of planning, lack of time? How do we say really we did not have time when there were so many occasions when it was just prayer?
Yes, no, as always, as I said, there were challenges within the portfolio committee, because any bill that is referred to a portfolio committee, the House has to wait for that committee to eventually work on it, because that's really where most work is done. That is a thorough work on any particular bill. So in those instances that you refer to, that simply means that the bill was not yet ready to be presented through its report to the House.
The failure of the House to pass this bill before the upcoming 2022 national elections will most likely raise a chain reaction of trust and commitment issues from many who sacrificed huge time and resources.
Is there a recourse? Can the House be called as per the Constitution, or what could be a possible course of action? Perhaps speculating.
Yes, it's so difficult for me as an official to speculate, especially on a sensitive subject of this nature. But as you say, Well, when looking at the Constitution, of course, what it is that can be done. One, of course, is now the issue of political will on all sides. And obviously, consensus here is important for people to see that the importance of the reforms and the omnibus bill with regard to the country, as well as our friends, the developing partners, as well as within SADC. Obviously, almost everyone was interested to ensure that at least this particular bill goes through.
The civil society organizations believe that only the Constitution can free itself from its own entanglement.
If in the process of doing reforms, then time lapses for Parliament, and there is a provision in the Constitution that can rescue that, I would really say, for those who value reforms process and those who critically understand what it means, not to have this bill passed right at this moment, it will be befitting, I think, to declare this situation a state of emergency.
These unfolding developments in the kingdom will be keenly watched from all quarters.
I know that Lesotho has been supported extensively by development partners, and I also know that the reforms process has actually given Lesotho a particular identity with other nations, because we have been committed to correct, to strengthen institutions, to make sure that we deal with instability. That has given other countries hope that, look, Lesotho needs support because it is going in the right direction. So I think if we don't deliver that, that will taint that picture.
The ball is now in the court of the Council of State to either declare a state of emergency, recall the Parliament to complete and pass the omnibus bill, or simply announce the date of elections with the hope that the new 11th Parliament will pass the reforms bill, which can only have binding effect to the next 12th Parliament. Rapelang Khatebe, SABC News, Maseko Lesotho.
Well, let's take a quick ad break and continue on the other side with more news and updates. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The Weekend Review with myself, Diesel Wilson, continues. Now, as the initiation season nears its end, the Limpopo province has so far reported one death at its 700-plus registered schools. Many families are welcoming back initiates this weekend. SABC News visited the community of Stagfontein, just outside of Groblersdal.
Euphoria for these parents. It's initiation homecoming season in this area. Song and dance have taken over here, celebrating Koma as initiation is termed in Sepedi. The ballet, as these young girls are called once they complete this 4-week process, are smeared in litsuko, a red clay, and dressed in ntepa and lebulle to symbolize the end of a successful initiation process. The dress is also symbolic of the coming of age ceremony. The young girls have now transitioned into womanhood. For them, this is a custom worthy of keeping in the modern world.
To undergo this process is important, to know about womanhood and how to handle yourself as a woman.
I am very, very happy because 4 weeks is too much without seeing your mom, without seeing your dad. Like, I was always crying, but I didn't want to show the other kids that I am crying. I was hiding my tears.
More jubilation as Masugana descend from the mountain. They return to the village triumphantly as men. For others, this is the return to a custom that was abandoned by a generation.
As time went on, you could see, and mostly it could connect to mostly that we haven't been so close to home and so forth and so forth. And then as time went on, things were actually put out straight that things have to be done in order for us to be able to move on with our goals and journey.
While one celebrates the reawakening of a tradition once lost, for this young man, Koma is a non-negotiable.
I don't have a chance or a choice. I must go to Goma. It's our tradition. It teaches us to respect our elders and teaches us not to fight each other as men.
Parents can breathe a sigh of relief seeing their children return home safely.
I feel great because of today. They are coming back home. They are going to see their parents, and everything I think is well, and we are happy about them.
With the province registering just one death, traditional surgeons say that a successful initiation season is the result of various stakeholders working together.
Right. President Cyril Ramaphosa is on an oversight visit at the Duduga power station in Mpumalanga province. This obviously comes as South Africa continues to endure rolling blackouts, and he will be briefing the media very shortly. Again, here on the SABC, we'll bring you all that and more. But that's where we're going to leave it for now. For myself, Liesl Wilson, and the team, obviously, we're going to be taking a look at the week ahead tomorrow. For now, let's cross over to the president and hear what he has to say.
Range from just getting the power station to operate at optimal levels and the various impediments that they go through. Part of it has to do with our own systems in government when it comes to things like procurement, not being able to give them their wherewithal so that they can procure spares and what they need on time within a specified period of time so that the power station and the units can continue operating. And of course, the other challenge that they face is corruption and fraud that is very pervasive in the power station, with a number of people who are involved in fraudulent activities and theft to a point where the theft and the fraud makes it very challenging for the power station to be able to operate optimally when there are shortages of spares, when they are stolen and they are not able to be in place on time as to be able to get the power station to function properly. That is a problem. That is being attended to now. The corruption is being dealt with, and people are getting arrested as a result of the actions that are being taken by the management, and we are grateful for that. And it is quite challenging to a point where some of our managers have to get protection, be protected because they are threatened as they are dealing with corrupt activities. I'm very impressed with the quality of managers we have here, because they are not only dealing with those challenges, but they are displaying a great deal of commitment to get the power stations working. I'm going to be meeting another group of managers at Megawatt Park this afternoon just to get a closer insight of some of the problems and the challenges they are facing. So I'm really pleased that I got this opportunity to come and see for myself here on the ground, and having done so, we will be able to come up with a number of proposals that can effectively deal with the challenges that the country faces when it comes to load shedding. The CEO of Eskom, Andre de Ruyter, has said load shedding can be solved, and if we all work together, and I agree with him, we all have to work together to address the problem of load shedding, and they are doing as much as they possibly can. Dealing with big machines, big equipment that they have to properly streamline to generate the energy that we need. And sometimes these big machines break down, and the people, though, are committed to making sure that they are repaired, and we just need to enable them. We just need to give them the capacity from our processes, from the funding point of view and enable them to get the work done as quickly as possible. Because what is important is to put megawatts on the grid. That is our main focus. And a whole lot of other things we will attend to as we move on. But right now, my focus, the minister's focus, even the premier's focus and everybody else's focus is to put megawatts, as many of them on the grid as possible. So that, for instance, here at Tutuka, we should get all the 6 units operating. Right now, we've had 2 operating, another one is coming on stream, and they are going to work very hard to get the other 3 on stream, and they've already got dates that they've put in place to get all the units operating. When this power station functions well, it generates easily 3,500 megawatts or so, and that is what we want to see Tutuka doing. It's one of those power stations that has always worked well. With a whole lot of problems that we have had, including state capture and corruption, Tutuka has been brought down. Now we are going to lift it again, and we are going to make sure that Eskom does rise. And my presence here today has also been to encourage them, to give them that encouragement that they should go on. And I'm glad that they've got a very good plan to bring the other units in Tutuka back on stream. So thank you very much. And with that, I think I've answered all the questions you wanted to raise.
Mr. President, from SABC News TV. Mr. President, what I'd like to find out from you is what we've heard from Minister Mantashe about the possibility of an SOE coming on stream to help Eskom. How far advanced are those plans, and is it something that is possible with what resources that coming from this from government? And if I may just address my last one to Mr. Durayton, now that the staff complement at Eskom has come back from the strike, how much longer are we going to be in darkness, sir?
Well, you want to raise another question?
Thanks, Mr. President. This question from my start, Mr. President, is a national address on the cards just regarding the energy crisis we're facing in the country. The nation soon as well regarding what is the way forward and the feedback from some of the meetings we attended. When you speak about corruption and fraud and Tutuka, state captures, warring arms, interests,
No, the issue that was raised by Minister Mantashe is a matter that will be given consideration, and it's a matter that is not going to be actioned now. What we now need to do is to reposition Eskom and make sure that we generate enough energy for the country. So that is our main focus. Other matters will be looked at in time. An address to the nation, it's something that we are giving consideration to in terms of looking at the various issues that need to be addressed. So in time, that will be the case. With regard to the reports that I have received, that the Minister and myself and others have received about corruption and fraud, we're pleased that people are being arrested. And those who are involved in acts of corruption are now being arrested. And our law enforcement agencies have started work. And they are going to continue. And that is going to intensify because corruption and fraud and indeed state capture have diverted our intentions to bring about progress in our country. So we are going to be paying close attention to issues of corruption and fraud. Unfortunately, here, as we speak, already the word is out that, yes, we're focusing on going after those who are corrupt and who are fraudulent as well.
The outlook for load shedding towards the end of
the coming week we should emerge from load shedding. We have already lifted our indication for load shedding going forward. We've got a couple of big units returning, so that's positive news. Towards the end of July, the risk will be significantly diminished once Koeberg 2 comes back to the grid. That's about 920 megawatts, so that will bring a large measure of relief. But ultimately, to put load shedding to bed, what we need is additional capacity, because the system as it is at the moment is still unreliable and unpredictable, and we need to give colleagues like Silo Momecha, the power station manager at Tutuka here, the headroom to carry out much needed maintenance in order to make sure that Tutuka power station runs like the oiled machine it should.
Thank you.
President, just on the issue of going beyond this particular crisis, in the past there's always been an issue with maintenance at Eskom, which we had seen load shedding, and now load shedding has come back. You were part of the war room in your capacity as Deputy President, trying to solve this issue. What guarantees can you give the nation that going forward, when this issue is resolved, you won't see the same continuing again?
Was there another question?
From EWN, just to add to Romano's question, what mitigation factors are the executives can add to their mitigation factors in place to guard against continuously facing fraud and theft of key infrastructure here at Tutuka as well, so that we're not constantly acting after the fact? What are the mitigation factors in place?
That's the last round of questions. No. Last round.
Okay, Mr. President, can you please tell us a little bit more about who are the members in the task team that you've established to deal with corruption and sabotage at a number of power stations?
Last round of questions, Mr. President. Mr. President, you've seen that the July unrest happening, which was very deadly and embarrassing for the country as well. Now hearing of the national shutdown due to Eskom failure as well, there's some political pressure coming your way as well. How do you make sure that you get the curb to this or attend to this matter? Because it does seem as though it's been on social media and something that cannot be ignored.
Well, the issues of maintenance at Eskom are ongoing. Eskom runs machines. It runs big machines, boilers, turbines, mills, you name it. And all those have to be maintained on an ongoing basis. And I'm glad that management at Eskom has a program to ensure that there is maintenance, and maintenance that will bring back a lot of megawatts back into the grid. So the focus is on maintenance, but the other focus, of course, is on increasing our power generation, of getting more power onto the grid. And once we have more power onto the grid and we get rid of the shortfall, we've had a shortfall of 4,000 megawatts. Once we can close that gap, we should be able, yes, to see the end of load shedding. So that even if some breakage does happen, and even if planned maintenance happens, if we have that buffer and those additional megawatts, then we should be okay. So I think that the focus has to be on that. I mean, these are some of the issues that we also dealt with also in the war room, and we are paying closer attention to all that now, maintenance and increasing the megawatts that will get onto the grid. And of course, through renewables and a whole lot of other sources, we should be able to do that. So I'm glad and I'm pleased with the plans that they have. As you heard the CEO saying, we're getting a number of other units back on stream, Koeberg and a number of others. So we should be able to have a great deal of relief from load shedding in a short space of time. With regard to things like shutdowns and all that. I mean, people are unhappy and they're angry, and they're right to be, because the load shedding that we've had has really made a negative dent on our people's confidence, as well as on the economy. And as we address the problems, there will be less and less need for reactions like that. So I'm hopeful that as we address the problems and as we will tell them what our plans and proposals are, people will understand that we are serious in dealing with the issues of load shedding and power generation for our economy. But on the ESCOM ones, I think management will address about the acts of mitigation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, on improving our control and anti-fraud measures, we have already embarked on a wide-ranging number of initiatives, including the beefing up of our SAP system, our integrated enterprise resource planning system. We are improving physical controls. We have stepped up overt and covert surveillance. We are investing in technology to make sure that we get what we pay for. We are also managing our warehouses far more tightly than they were in the past. But I think it's important to emphasize that the lack of control that exists still in ESCOM is the consequence of a deliberate era of neglect to enable fraud and corruption to take place. And of course, many people have a vested interest in maintaining that status quo. So getting that done requires the assistance of the law enforcement agencies, and we are delighted with the progress that we are seeing with the arrests that were announced, and hopefully that's the first of many to come. Thank you.
You raised the issue of the task team, which I omitted to respond to. We do have a task team that's looking very closely at an operational level, working together with a whole number of, it is composed of a number of disciplines in government, and it also involves ESCOM. So we've dubbed it the National Energy Crisis Task Team, which has the police, which has the presidency, which has treasury, which has Ministry of Energy and Forestry, which has Ministry of Mines and Mineral Resources. So all these people are involved in that task team, and they are the ones who are looking at a number of initiatives. And some of those obviously touch on precisely what Under Director was saying in relation to the mitigation steps that need to be taken to limit fraud and corruption and deal with all those. So, and the police are also involved in it all. So we've got a team of people who are looking very closely at this, and we will be able to make further announcements about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You want to rise?
Right, that wraps that oversight visit. President Cyril Ramaphosa there on an oversight visit to Tutuka Power Station in Mpumalanga. As you know, the country has been enduring rolling blackouts for some time now. You know, a few units had broken down at Tutuka Power Plant, which was commissioned in 1985. It's a thermal power station, primary fuel being coal-fired with a capacity of 3,654 megawatts. Now, Tutuka is one of the worst performing power stations and of the 15 coal power stations owned by the utility. Stage 6 was implemented, a few weeks ago for the first time since 2019. ESCOM CEO there accompanying the president, saying that things should start to stabilize and normalize by the end of July, but was very quick to say that to put load shedding to bed, ultimately it will require additional capacity. Now, President asking several questions there from the media. As you know, that he said that he was in close meetings with the Eskom executive, as well as the Minister of Mineral Resources, Gwede Mantashe, and Minister of Public Enterprises, Praveen Gordhan, when he was speaking yesterday at the SACP's 15th conference. He announced that government is definitely considering establishing a second power utility to reduce the risk posed by Eskom's failures. Of course, this was a proposal that was made by Minister Mantashe. He says that proposal is currently being looked at. But we'll have more details in terms of what this means now for